Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 59 of Eat, Drink, Write, an Urban Fantasy Whiteboard. We're going to talk about developing romance in your novels, aka how can I get my readers to ship my main character and their love interest.
It's a wordy title. Sorry, that was my doing.
It was, and I have a feeling you chose this title to keep from having to do how to write sex scenes.
It might have played a role. It might have, I also gave you two other topics that were not that either.
I
So,
liked this one. I like writing the romance,
yeah.
the relationships.
Yeah. No, I think it's fun to do. Surprisingly, I um don't I mean, like, I enjoy reading about them, but I don't I like enjoy, oh my God. Well, you're about to ask me how my week is, and I'll tell you in a second, but
Yeah,
that's part of it.
I can tell.
But I enjoy really well written ones, so I definitely want to learn how to write a well written romance.
I think they just happen, which isn't very helpful to our listeners, but most of them are writers too. So probably all of them are writers. And so, that's something we all have done, I think, probably by accident, but there should be some thought that goes into it. And that's what we're going to talk about too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Us both. I'm not
Yeah.
even drinking yet. Like, I have a full glass.
Speaking of, we had a listener that had listened to our Loch Ness Monster and I don't remember what your part of that was.
Vampires.
Vampires episode. And we got spanked a little bit. Well, I did because I was the one that mispronounced it. Inverness. Inverness is where that lake is. Not
What did you call
I
it?
think I said Iverness or I don't know what I
Okay.
said, but as soon as I got that comment, I'm like, oh my God, what did I say? So I went back and listened to it and I'm like, yeah, they corrected me
Right.
properly. So I wanted
Right.
to mention that. Thank you. We absolutely have no problem with people
No,
correcting us. We
please do.
don't know what we're talking about half the time. Speaking of, how was your week?
Yeah. Brutal. I mean, not bad. I know a couple of weeks ago I was like talking about how bad grad school was and stuff, and it's actually gotten a lot better. I've realized that my boss is just a micromanager, and so she prefers to hear what I do every day, which she never told me. And now that I've discovered this, it is way better. And I have sent her emails every day with, "Hey, I did this thing. I'll tell you more about it during
Okay.
our meeting." And she is a lot more receptive to my efforts than she was before.
Okay. That would have been nice to have known ahead of time, but I'm glad you figured it out.
To be fair, I'm her first student, which is also very rough. So,
Yeah, she's cutting her teeth on you. That's
right.
hard for both of you.
Right. So, but it's gotten better. So this week I'm doing a series of experiments. Each of them take 4.5 hours. So it's a lot of brain work. So, like, I have realized also lately, which is not good for me as a writer, that my words do not come to me as easily when I'm speaking. So like earlier, I tripped over my words, like, and I just
Mhm.
struggle so hard with that. That said, I have written like 8,000 words since last week, since we last
God,
talked. So
you're rocking and rolling, man. I'm jealous.
I know that book too is at like 22,500, 23,500 words, I
That's
think.
amazing. What's
Yeah.
your goal,
So
or do you not have a goal because it just writes itself however long it is?
the goal will probably be around 85,000 because whenever I do a rewrite or a revision, I always end up adding a couple
A
thousand.
lot.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So 85,000, 80 to 85,000 will be the goal for just like a rough draft. But as long as I get the story down, I won't uh, do too much about it. So
I have the opposite problem. My rough drafts are like 135,000 words and I'm like, when I edit this, I'm going to add. I've got to cut. It's very, very hard.
yeah.
My week has been rough. We've got the chaos court coming up next week. I'm tired. I sent emails. I have to do those individual emails to every defendant, every custodial parent, every other jurisdiction state. And so my brain is cross-eyed right now.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I did get out my Cricut. For Christmas, I got a Cricut. It's the cutting machine.
Oh yeah.
And so I got it out and set up and played with it a little bit, but I haven't had a chance to do anything with it. I want to make stuff and I haven't had time to make anything. I did
I
get
just
a
want to say, sorry to interrupt you, but I love your black turtleneck, and then your hair is up. It makes you look like a ninja or something. It's great.
I'm a ninja. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So I got the Cricut set up, but I haven't had a chance to play with it. I have still been brainstorming on Harper, and she's shifting already. You know, I've been struggling,
Mm-hmm.
which at this phase I usually don't struggle. Things are coming too fast usually, and I was using for Christmas. I got another one of those thesauruses
Yeah.
from Angela, and I don't remember their names.
I have a book of theirs around here somewhere. Oh, it's down there. I'm not going to reach
Yeah.
for it.
And I got a new one. I got their occupation thesaurus for Christmas. And I was like, you know, I'm having trouble because in my mind, it was set in Atlanta, which because I know Atlanta, and I thought, okay, she's going to work in a coffee or tea shop because I know coffee and tea. That was your cat's tail.
Yes.
And then I started looking at this book and it was talking about scuba diving and all this stuff. I'm like, that's it. She lives on the beach.
Oh, nice.
So that, I mean, it just immediately clicked. And I'm like, okay, so now I got to figure out, what is she doing on the beach? Does she own a bar? Does she teach surfing? Does she, you know, I got to figure that out. And then I'll have to research all that because I'm not a beach person. I don't know those things, but
Right.
that'll be fun though but I am definitely feeling that. So I've done more brainstorming on her.
Fun fact, my girlfriend likes to scuba dive, so she could probably tell
Really?
you things. Yes.
I can pick her brain.
Yes. She
All
would
right.
love it. She would adore it. So
There's a shadow on my face from this microphone.
oh.
Makes my face look funny. Yeah, because I had the lights on over there to take a picture of my food and my drink. Speaking of which, what is your food and drink?
Well, so I was ready before you, and most of my snack might have disappeared. But it was just cheese. So a normal snack for me, like I cut up some cheese and had that. I had like a wine cheese and some Gouda cheese and some Havarti cheese. So it was really good.
Yum. Yeah. Yeah. Daddy decided he wanted me to eat before I started drinking. So he made dinner. He made Parmesan chicken.
What's he saying?
Yeah, good question. I don't know what he means by that.
Wow.
It's so funny because he can hear us when he's downstairs, depending on what time we do this.
Yeah.
And we talk about him a lot. And so I come out and he's like, what were you saying about me? He's like, people are going to be like looking me up and everything. And I'm like, maybe you're famous.
Oh my gosh. I have a fun story about that kind of thing. There's this woman, she's a writer and she's on TikTok. And so she does leak these clever TikToks where she's describing her book as if she is her main character. And so it's like her husband was found in a lake house with his dead mistress or something like that. And so she's like acting this out kind of thing. And so people thought it was real, and she's still with her husband, like the writer. And so like one of her recent TikToks was like her talking about, guys, this isn't real. And he like comes up and he's like, people hate me because they think I'm a murderer.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, your dad's probably worried about that kind of thing because we do talk about him a lot.
It's really funny.
Did you say what you were drinking?
No, it's a grapefruit vodka soda. So I crushed the vodka sodas, but I had a grapefruit. And so, yeah.
That's awesome because that's like there's names for the different, there's a Greyhound, which is one of the grapefruit drinks.
Oh.
And there's what's that one that I like to make? I can't remember. My brain.
don't know.
I'm sorry, guys. I know I've talked about it in other episodes because I've had them before with the salt on the rim. Salty Dog.
Salty Dog. Okay.
Yeah, so that's another one. But so Daddy made dinner for us and he made Parmesan chicken, and I've taken a cute little picture, which I'll have to post. I still haven't posted any pictures recently.
It's been busy.
But it was tasty. So I ate dinner before doing this because I'm drinking. I am drinking my sparkling pink champagne or sparkling wine, which I love, but I've got this really cool glass.
Oh, that's cute.
Which those on watching us on YouTube can see. It's a hand painted champagne flute. It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
And we got it years ago, but I like to drink out of the fancy glasses. And then
Yeah.
because I drink so fast, I brought a regular one and a regular stemless glass. So I got
Oh,
plenty to keep me going.
very good. Very good.
I have jokes.
Oh, of course. Yes. Let's hear them.
Since we're talking about romance, they're kind of love related jokes. They're really dumb today, but I found them funny. How did the telephone propose to his girlfriend?
How?
He gave her a ring.
Oh, God. I should have known.
What happened to the two vampires who went out on a blind date?
What?
It was love at first bite.
Ah, okay. I was like, it's got to be something about the biting.
Bite or something, fang, something. What do you call two birds in love?
What?
Tweethearts.
Oh, that was cute.
Yeah, I liked all of those. That was easy to find loved ones today. Some of our topics I can't find anything on.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I just realized that Valentine's Day is on Saturday.
You're
and we're
right.
recording this. So,
right.
well, by the time this comes out, it'll have been last Saturday. We'll have.
That's right. This will come out on the
Valentine's Day.
Tuesday after.
Yes, but it is very timely.
Mhm.
I almost said violins. Listen, my brain. I apologize in advance for whatever comes out of my mouth.
Maybe the alcohol will calm us both down. I haven't had a drink in a while because I'm trying to get work done and I don't like to feel bad the next morning. And plus, it does interfere with weight loss and I want to lose weight.
Mhm.
So I haven't had much to drink lately. So I'm going to be a lightweight today. So who knows what we'll be saying by the end of this podcast.
Wonderful.
So start us off. Tell us
All
about
right.
developing romance in your novels.
Yes, romance. So I got most of my information from 10minutenovelist.com. And it seemed like a pretty good article that I was reading. It was very thorough. So I'm going to go through some of that information here.
Okay.
But first off, romance is a big part of the publishing industry. A lot of books, though not all of them, include a romance plotline. And I say that because there are books that are, involve asexual main characters and like that kind of thing. So romance is obviously not going to be a part of every book, but it is a part of a lot of them.
Mhm.
Whether it's the main plot or a subplot, I think it I can't think of an urban fantasy book that I've read that hasn't had
At least a love
romance.
interest. Yeah. Something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like that said, paranormal romance has become its own genre where, that's, romance novels with a kind of urban fantasy twist.
Yeah. I went through a phase there while I was waiting on, what's her name? Aiden, or her last name's Aiden. But
Laura,
or Lara Aiden.
Lara,
Something
it's like
that.
Adrian, Laura
Oh,
Adrian.
Laura Adrian, that's it. And
I haven't even read that author.
that phase, and she's amazing. And hers are, I do. It's a lovely genre. I love that genre.
I mean, think about Kresley Cole. That's paranormal romance.
Oh
so,
yeah, absolutely.
and
That's
she's
true.
great.
Mhm.
So, romance is also a part of many people's everyday lives. So it's likely that a lot of authors would want to include it in their stories.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, like I said before, as you write, it happens when you've got your characters interacting with each other. It's an everyday, real life thing that relationships develop, and it's not always romantic. There's the best friend. There's all
Right.
kinds of relationships that happen naturally as you write. But I do love the romantic ones.
Absolutely. And then in our title, our very wordy, lengthy title, we talked about, how can we get our readers to ship our characters? So like, what is shipping? I will explain that because I don't know if that is still a widespread term. I have no idea. It's been a long time.
You're old.
Wow.
I'm not the only old one now.
I'm still in my 20s, woman. Wow.
Riley would probably make a face at you for using the word ship.
Whatever. It was a very widespread term at least like 5 years ago. Let's be real. So yes, it was a widespread term. I don't know if it still is, but for those of you who don't know what it is, it's like if you ship two characters and that means you want them to be romantically involved with each other. So like they're in a relationship.
Yeah. Being older than you, I always kind of thought when I first heard the ship terminology, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It must be talking about, two ships passing in the night.
Adorable. That's, it's precious.
Yeah, I'm older than you are, so.
But no, I don't, I'm whatever. You know what? Whatever. So I'm not old.
Moving on.
So, wow. So, what are some questions that we can think about as we're going through this information? And so, like, the first one is, how can I develop the romance between my characters in a way that will invest my reader in the relationship, which is what we want. We want our readers to want those characters to be together, especially if you've designed them that way. So can I toy with the feelings of my readers enough that they're rooting for the couple long before the couple is rooting for themselves, which is like the funnest thing for me, because, you see these two characters and you're like, oh, they would be great together. Like, I would love to see that happen. And like, that would be awesome.
And I love it when there's just a teaser of it and it may not ever come to pass. Like in your Louis and Delaney first one, and I haven't read yet your newest. I'm still trying to get through the Grave Witch series, and I mean it's an excellent book. It's not because her book is bad, I just haven't had time. But in the draft of Louis and Delaney that I read, the bodyguard that she had, there was some kind of sexual something going on.
Yeah.
And so as the reader, I was curious, is this going to come into something? So it doesn't even have to be the relationship that ends up happening if one does. I just like those little teasers. I love that. I think all of us as humans love to see the happy ending and people get together and, that kind of thing. So it's always fun whenever you have two characters or interact, you're like, oh, is there a spark there?
Right. Like, could they? I think I want them to.
Yeah. So me as a reader always root for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and then also, how can you pace the romance in such a way that the readers will want to see what happens next? Make it a page turner romance, or, at least make the plot line interesting.
Yeah.
So what are some tips and suggestions that we can use to make our characters shippable? So make your reader, don't laugh at me.
Shippable.
Shut up. So make your reader connect with both characters involved in the relationship. If your readers only care about the main character and not the love interest, then the odds are they won't ship those two characters together. So make them real people. Both of them need to be real, which we've done so many episodes on, character development and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, think about just watching the TV series that are so popular. I remember Pretty Little Liars and I mean, all kinds of those young adult things. You always wonder, and even soap operas, who is going to end up with whom, and how is that going to work? You're always shipping everybody. What if those two? And what if those two? And ooh, wouldn't it be cool if those two? So
yeah. Put your characters together, which is like, kind of obvious, but they need to be around each other if they're going to fall in love. Put them together in a variety of settings, which I thought was a really good tip, because see how they interact with each other at like formal parties or in the outdoors or at work or whatever.
In front of other people, away from other people.
Right.
They treat each other differently. Right now I'm watching Shameless. Did you watch Shameless?
Oh my gosh, you're watching Shameless.
Yes. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What a show.
It is the most disturbing show. I am so sucked into it right now.
I can't watching it.
We were looking for another series to watch.
Oh man, what a show. It's good. It's a good show, but yeah.
Excellent acting. Oh
very
my
good.
God.
Yes.
Excellent acting. But that the relationship, we're only in season 1, so the relationship between the gay brother and
Mickey
and his girlfriend's sister, whatever.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
The other gay boy doesn't want to admit he's gay.
Oh, right,
it's a very strange relationship, and they act totally different in front of other people than they do when they're alone.
Yep.
And so, putting them together and seeing how they act is really important to the reader to see how this relationship is going. And Kada, that's the one that starts in Atlanta and goes to the other world. She and her love interest, Taryn, do not get along. He's kind of an ass, actually.
Yeah.
He finds her lacking. She's annoyed with him that he is expecting these things of her when she has no idea about, she never even knew this other world existed, and he's expecting her to, step up and fix it
Right.
now, and she's still going, what the hell, there's other worlds. And but they have to work together
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
solve the issue that's going on this other world. And they have their own conflicts. They obviously don't get along, and so that tension between them is really funny, and their reactions to each other's comments is really funny.
Hmm.
And it makes us like both of them separately. Taryn, even though he's an ass to her, is a good person, and you can see it.
Yeah.
So we kind of are watching this train wreck of a couple go along this relationship, and we don't know for a long time if there's going to be anything that comes from it, but it's hilarious to watch their interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's hilarious. I also do like an enemies to lovers type of situation in Aiden. And that love interest, the romance is going to arc over several books. So I'm really excited to write that one.
I love,
Yeah.
and I know it's a common trope in romance novels, the hate to love,
Hmm.
but I love that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's a common trope.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Right.
enjoy it too. I think it's great. Also make your characters have conversations. I mean, they need to talk to each other in order to fall in love.
And that can be especially fun. That snarky comment,
Mm,
the competition between the two of them to show, this happens between Kada and Taryn, and that you can show that through the conversation that they have,
yeah.
and you can take, I can't remember, there's something that happens early on. They get attacked because she is immediately, people are trying to assassinate her.
Yeah.
And his statements and her reactions to them are really funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we as the reader are watching this relationship going, God, he's an ass, but oh, that's so sweet he did that. And so, we're kind of rooting for both of them. Anyway, but yes, a lot of that can be shown through conversation.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be. I think a conversation between your main character and the love interest should be widespread. I think they should
Yes.
interact a lot.
Yeah.
Also, go slowly. So, well, I mean, it depends on your book, right? So it depends on your plot line. But if you move the relationship too quickly in terms of what your book is, then it can start to feel forced. So, give
Yeah.
them an emotional, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, give them an emotional response to each other. Like that's a good way to pace out your developing of a romance. Like if you have them meet and then something happens and it's, they have an immediate emotional reaction to this person, like, oh, I accidentally spilled coffee on you. So like it doesn't even have to be a positive emotion, but it's like, oh, you spilled coffee on me and I had this meeting and how dare you?
Yeah.
Ignite some kind of feeling between the two characters.
A lot of rom-coms do that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking what I was about to say. I'm sorry I cut you off. I didn't mean to.
No,
I
no
got
worries.
excited about my point. The genre is important. Like, think of action adventures. You don't have time in an action adventure story to take it slow. Like in the movie Speed, do you remember that one with Keanu Reeves and
Was that on the bus?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So their relationship grows in this mad, horrible, action-packed time frame. And he even makes a comment, I think it might be towards the end of the movie, where he says, relationships based on adrenaline or doomed to fail or something like that.
Something like that.
But yeah, you couldn't go slowly with that relationship because everything was going fast.
Right. Well, but that's like my point of like pacing. Make sure it matches the pace of your novel.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the genre is important too. Romance, when you advertise your book as a certain genre, you're making a promise to your readers.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is a historical romance, if you end up with everybody getting their heads chopped off, you are going to have really disappointed readers.
Right.
You know, we all know the happily ever after comes in a historical romance. That's what you pick up that book for. That's why you pick it up.
Hmm.
You want that. So be aware of your genre as to pacing as well. That was just what I did. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, no, you're good. You do have another point there, though.
Oh, uh, oh yeah. I'm gonna have to like edit this, but I like it when the reader and maybe other characters around the main readers realize that the two like each other before the two characters realize it themselves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love that too because it's like, especially the best friend character. I remember reading about it while I was doing this research and I don't know if I put it in here, but if you have like a best friend, I think I did put it in here. I'll talk about it later. But no, I agree. I think it's great when other characters realize the relationship is a thing before the characters do, and they're
Yeah,
like,
and
"Oh,
they're
okay,
bumbling about being stupid, and we're the reader going, Yeah,
right,
at
right,
some point you're gonna figure it out."
right."
Yeah.
Give these characters playful banter, or like show that they like being together. So like, give them some playful banter, add in some annoyance with a touch of joy at the prospect of seeing their person.
Yeah, I like that too. Did you ever watch Heart of Dixie?
I have seen like an episode here and there because I know you guys did, and I think I got caught in the middle of that of
I
y'all's
mean, we
watching it.
watched the whole thing. It's a rom-com type thing. I am not into the super chick flick things. Your dad is actually more into chick flicks than I am,
He is a chick flick guy.
but we both got kind of hooked on this. It's a very simple series,
Yeah.
but there was one point, speaking of this uh, banter and this annoyance and this joy of the prospect of seeing this
Yeah.
person, even though they think they hate them because they haven't realized yet. Um, she was on a date with this other guy,
Yeah.
not the love interest that we all wanted to have them be with. And she was so focused on beating the other guy, this competition she had going with the love interest that we want,
Yeah.
that she really screwed up the date that she was on.
Yeah.
And that guy even said during this date, he's like, you were more invested in your war with him than you were with the romance with me. And she's
Right.
like, what are you talking about? I hate him. And, you know, even this guy on the date with her saw it and she
Yeah.
still didn't realize, but she had that anticipation and that joy at the prospect of, ha ha ha, what am I going to do to him this time? And she was on a date with another guy.
Yeah. No,
So
exactly.
yeah,
That's exactly the point. Is like give
yeah,
them that playful banter. I think they should be annoyed with each other if you're gonna like go this route, and then give them a touch of joy at the prospect of doing it. Like you said, like
yeah,
she was thrilled to go and like figure out what to do to this other guy, and then it was just like, oh, like
yeah.
you're obviously more invested than you are in me.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Right. Demonstrate how confused your characters are. So like your hero and or your heroine, whatever, need to be in conflict, but like with their reason and their heart. So like their reasoning and then their heart. So like we talked about conflict last week.
Yeah, I think you're right. They should know what they should do,
Hmm.
but their heart's telling them something else. You know, this helps raise that sexual tension, which is a must when you're developing this romance. I'm not saying sex is a must. I'm
Yeah.
saying that sexual tension is a must.
The
That
chemistry,
the chemistry,
between two
you know,
characters.
that
Yeah.
getting feel when you meet that person and then you aren't in a relationship yet, that those butterflies in your stomach, that tension is a must. You've got to have that, and your readers have to understand that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Um, this is what I was talking about. So my next point, I guess I should say that first before I go into a spiel. But this is what I was going to talk about earlier when I was talking about best friends knowing about the relationship before them. So this point is about, give your main character or your characters a core to argue with. So your hero or your heroine need to spout off about, your love interests, need to be able to have someone to talk to about each other. So they need coworkers or best friends or, a sympathetic sister, a nosy aunt, their mom, someone that they can talk to about their love interest.
Yeah.
And, of course, those friends.
In
No,
fact,
go ahead.
like the nosy aunt is a great way to get across a disapproval,
Mm-hmm.
Because friends and stuff generally want to support you. They're going to, although we had in one of our episodes, we talked about before about best friends telling it like it is, but
Right.
that nosy aunt can play devil's advocate. She could actually push them closer together because she hates him so much and doesn't think he's good enough for her or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, the play of the other characters can help develop that relationship as well.
Absolutely. I think so too, especially because like those friends, the aunt, whatever, are going to see that relationship blooming like way more clearly than your main character does.
Yeah.
So like you said, they'll be able to be a sounding board. They'll be able to, give them warnings or remind them of decisions. They'll be able to tease them about this budding relationship, manipulate the circumstances if that's who, that character is. Remind them of other decisions that they could make instead of this one love interest. These side characters allow for a more complicated situation, which will allow for more drama and more interest for your readers.
And rocks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more conflict.
Mm-hmm.
We love the conflict.
Yes.
Create a pursuit. So have one of the characters more interested than the other, which I think, have seen a lot in a lot of books. Use a decisive action by one to get the attention of the other. And when I read this tip, I immediately thought of Kate Daniels and Curran.
Yeah.
They have a very slow burn romance development, and I love it to death. That is one of my favorite romances in any urban fantasy, any book that I've ever read. And then eventually she screws with his gem to get his attention to tell him that she wants him. And I just love it so much.
Yeah. They're, not all ways of expressing your desire are what we think of in normal. Think about your characters. And that is a great, great point. Kate Daniels is not a normal girl.
Yeah.
She's not the, ooh, will he call me? Or, ooh, should I call? Hell no. She
Right.
goes out, she does what she does, and he knows exactly what she's doing.
Right, because it's so funny because the shapeshifters have the tradition of like, oh, you mess with your mate to tell them that you like them. Like that's just like what they do. But Kate is not a shapeshifter. So Curran didn't expect it. And so she goes and screws with his gem and he's pissed off and she's like, Curran, think about what I did. And so he was like, oh, I see. So it was great. Really good.
Yeah. This is a really common method in romance novels to increase that sexual tension. You have them not communicate well. That communication is key. We, the reader, know what's going on, but the other person doesn't have a clue.
Right.
I know this is one of your dislikes, your pet peeves is, you see the need for it, but it bothers you sometimes. I think mostly in young adult, where if they would just talk to each other, there would be no problem.
Oh no, I use it in my books all the time, to be honest, because with Aiden, she and her love interest, they don't talk. They hate each other at the beginning. And it'd be easier if one of them was just like, hey, this is where my head is at. This is why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And the other person would be like, oh, I get it. Gotcha. Same with Louie and Delaney.
There would be no story.
Right. Exactly.
So, but I do think you have to do it. I've seen it poorly done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and I love young adult. I know that you have issues with some young adult, but
yeah,
I have read some really good young adult books, but I've also read some really bad ones where it's almost formulaic, where they try to do this. Oh, I have to have them miscommunicate so that it create.
Right.
What is your cat doing that you keep looking over there?
It's not the cat. I think it's my upstairs neighbors. I think they're just like stomping around.
Maybe they're clogging. What was it? What was that commercial with the we have clogs. There's something that commercial. Okay, never mind.
Nope. I don't watch commercials. Sorry.
We try not to. We use Hulu, so we don't have cable or anything like that, but sometimes we're forced to watch commercials. Well, the only time I like to watch commercials is during the Super Bowl. I live for those commercials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you
Some of them
watch
are pretty good. I
did you
watched some
watch
of it.
the Super
Some
Bowl?
of it. Some of it. Some of it.
I watched it from start to end, and somehow I missed the Mila Kunis, and
Kunis?
that's it. She's one of my favorite people, and I can never get her name right.
What did she do?
There was a commercial with she and her husband. What's his name?
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher. Yeah. And I missed it
Oh, I also missed that.
because it was like one of the best. After the Super Bowl, I'm like, there really weren't any good commercials. I mean, there were some that were heartfelt and, about our country being broken right now. And it is. And, we're going to overcome this. Okay, great.
Right.
I like the funny commercials. There was one Dorito commercial with another actor whose name I can't remember. He's not my favorite.
I don't think I saw that one. Oh, I know what it is. It's my fridge. It's making ice. Sorry. I just
Oh, your
realized.
ice is making that noise.
Yes.
You thought you were haunted, didn't you?
Listen, I told you I'm okay with ghosts coming. Just
Yeah.
like, come just murder me on camera. I could be famous.
Okay, so random not.
All right, I take it back. Let's get back to romances, developing romance.
Okay, so I was saying this is a very common method in romance novels to have this miscommunication issue.
Right.
It is almost a trope on how to screw up the ship, as you call it.
Yeah.
The reader knows what's going on, but the characters have no clue. Now, a lot of urban fantasy is written in first person.
Yeah.
So we only see it inside the head of one person, which makes it harder, which I think is part of why Kresley Cole, with her urban paranormal romance, writes in third person, because we have to see inside the head of both of these
Both of
two
them.
romantic characters to understand the miscommunication that's going on. And
Right.
she does it brilliantly.
She does.
But it does help the reader see the taking of the shape of that relationship. In first person, we get to see those fears and the doubts and all of that we've all faced in relationships. I mean, you're scared. What if they don't like me? I really, really like them. What if I do this? They're going to think I'm stupid, that kind of thing. And we can use that in our writing. Just be aware of what tense, what are you writing in first person? Are you writing in third person? How much
Point of view. Yeah.
point of view? That's it.
There you go.
I've finished my first drink. I'm on my second.
Wow.
I think that was all of that point. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, then my next point is to take your time with this. What were we talking about? Creating a pursuit. Take your time with creating a pursuit. Convince your reader that they will get together, and the matter of when will keep them turning the pages.
Yeah. Since a lot of our listeners probably don't write romance per se, the templates are different on how to develop relationships in urban fantasy or in regular fantasy or in just general mainstream fiction than they are in romance.
Right.
So you might not, in urban fantasy, at least, you might not get that happily ever after ending. Woohoo!
Wow.
Yay, alcohol. In the first book.
Right.
And what I was thinking about as I was researching this was Cat and Bones. It's one of my favorite. I have lots of favorite.
Oh, so good. Oh, I
books.
should reread those. They're so good.
Yeah. And I loved all the spinoffs. I read the spinoffs.
I wasn't as huge a fan of the spinoffs because it was, I don't know.
They were more romance.
They were. Yeah.
Which I love romance. So I have to be in the
You know what? Give me like a good gay romance with like female. I'm in it. Yeah. Yeah.
Did I tell you that I think I might write erotica under a different
Sorry,
name?
I only made that face because I would never. No, but that would be fun.
Well, it's got to be done under a
pen name.
A pen name.
Yeah.
But sells, and I think it would be a great way to earn some income coming in while I'm trying to write my real books.
I think that'd actually be good. I mean, you liked Kresley Cole's series for it.
Yeah, she actually had an erotica series that was, you talk about relationships, and if we ever do an episode on sex scenes, we can talk about the difference in erotica sex scenes from romance sex scenes from urban fantasy sex scenes. Totally different things.
Yes, I've never read erotica though, so that would all be you, I suppose.
Okay.
If we ever do that in the future.
Anyway, The Cat and Bones, that one, by the end of the first book, they are not at that happily ever after.
Can you hear my cat? He's making a lot of noise. Okay, great.
I cannot.
That's all I needed to know. All right.
So, you see their growing attraction. We all want to see them form a relationship. Their interactions are funny, and you see it through the conversations and whatnot, but they aren't at that happily ever after in book one. They just aren't.
That book series is so good though.
In fact,
good series.
At the end of book one, I think he's gone. I don't know that we even see him in book two. I can't remember, but that relationship is a totally slow burn going on in the background. And then also in Mercy, the Patricia Briggs series,
right,
with Mercy Thompson, we get to watch her relationship. I did hear that. What is he?
I don't know what he sees. I think I've got the lights on in this room, and I've got these windows back here behind me. So the bugs are attracted to it. So Catson is hunting the bugs. So sorry for any noise.
Throwing himself against the wall or what?
He sure is. He I'll be sitting in the living room sometimes and I'll hear this loud thud and I'm like, oh my God, like he's gonna shatter this door at some point. But yes, he is attacking the window. So sorry if you guys hear any of that.
Anyway, Mercy and her love interest develop over a long, long time.
And their relationship is really good. I think the way that Patricia Briggs does her romance in those series are very good.
And her sex scenes, if we ever do, I will use her as an example of how to do sex scenes without doing sex scenes. She is brilliant, because not everybody wants to talk about, oh, we've got the penis and we got the vagina. And what the hell do we do with these things? How do we do that?
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. This is why this was Jen's idea to do a sex scene thing. And she's like, but then again, you are mother and daughter. I don't know. I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. And Taylor's like, I don't think so. Yeah. So we'll see. I think it's a very important topic because I have written a romance and Kata ends up with sex scenes in that book. And it was difficult. I struggled writing those. I had to do research. And so I think it would be helpful to our listeners if we told them how we do it.
Maybe someday.
Because like Patricia Briggs, there is no outright sex. There are no penises going on in Patricia Briggs. There's nudges and, we all know.
Oh my God. All right, listen, let's get back to developing a romance.
Okay, we went way off topic. So anyway, you don't have to have the relationship, depending on your genre, come to fruition by the end of the first book.
Right. And personally, none of mine ever do. There's definitely hints at it. Aiden actually ends up having 2 love interests over the course of her books. And, obviously she doesn't end up with the one that she ends up with overall at the end of the first book. Absolutely. Let the pursuer make mistakes in this pursuit. So make big mistakes, make small ones, make it difficult for them to chase after this person, but be careful about how far your character is willing to go in this pursuit. They might end up as creepy or like the stalker. So like, just make sure that you write it in a way that doesn't end up like that.
Yeah, that makes me think of the Fever series and the Barons and Mac relationship. Do you remember, because we read them as they came out? Well, actually, there had been several. By the time I convinced you to read them.
You did not convince me. You did not let me read them because I was only 16. And you said that I was not old enough.
Oh, it
So
was the Kresley Cole ones I tried to get you to read that it took me forever.
yes, I
Yeah,
wanted
the
to read Fever.
Fever is definitely you needed to be older than
I was like,
16.
I think I was like 12 or something maybe when you
Yeah,
started reading them.
16 I was going to say
Old enough.
I would probably let Riley read them, and she's 15. And you were an older minded child too, but 12 is you can't read those at
I
12.
think I was
Yeah.
definitely younger because I remember you were reading the first Fever book and I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And you were telling me a little bit about it and I was like, "Cool, can I read it?" And you stopped and you said, "No." And I said,
Yeah.
"Oh."
Do you
So,
remember now that you have read them,
yes.
do you agree that I shouldn't have let you read them when you were 12?
Probably. I don't know. Yeah, probably. They're very explicit.
Yeah. But anyway, that Barons and Mac relationship, you were talking about creepy.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of talk and chatter going on as she wrote these books. And they're like, people were like, they better not have her get together with him because he's an asshole and no woman should be treated that way. And she works it beautifully, I must say. But there was chatter. He did not treat her the way that women should be treated, human women should be treated in a normal
Right.
relationship. He was an ass. But
Yeah.
in urban fantasy, you
I
know,
mean, he had his reasons because of the fact that it was an urban fantasy.
and we find those out way over time.
Yes.
Not in that first book. Like a romance, you have an open and shut relationship from start to finish in that book. Even
Right.
though Kresley Cole has a series, each relationship, because it's a romance, those two couples, that couple is done at the end of that book.
Yeah.
Um, so, but we still want to see those relationships. I still
Yeah.
loved watching Barron's and Mac's relationship grow. And sometimes I was mortified, and sometimes I was like the other people were like, she better not end up with him because he is a jerk.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that. No, Barron's is an asshole.
Mhm.
But I think with the way that Mac was, the way that she thought about things, I think she would have never stopped and she would have ended up dying if
Yeah.
Barron's did not treat her the way that he did.
Yeah, he had absolutely every reason. And I'm not saying he's perfect either. He has his own flaws,
No, right.
as everybody does, and his own selfish reasons for doing things, as everybody does.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with that completely. And
Hmm.
like you said, their relationship still it develops over the course of her 10 book series, about to be 11
Yeah. And I
question
mean,
mark.
it's still a work in progress.
It is. And
Even,
it is very good.
it's amazing. If you all haven't read, you probably have by now. I think most people that have done urban fantasy have come across that series.
Probably. Keep your characters' actions and thoughts consistent. So the best way to create a believable reaction in a romance is to have thoroughly drawn characters. So make these characters realistic, which we've talked about before. We mentioned it earlier. We've
Yeah.
had several episodes on this. So
Along those lines, though, young adult ones might not be consistent just because they aren't of that age yet to know what they want. That's why there's so many of those horrible love triangles that you hate so much in a young adult book.
well, but I think that's still consistency. So just, not knowing what you want is, make that consistent. Be
That's
flip-floppy if you are flip-floppy.
that's true.
Right.
Yeah, just be aware. Yeah.
Right. Have them respect one another. So give them equal footing and see what they do with it.
Yeah, I that's super important, I think. Well, unless you're writing some kind of deviant erotica, which I might write at some point or something.
Well, I don't ask me to beta read that. I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
we'll talk
just
about
think
that later, I guess.
we'll talk about that later. Okay.
Have the characters teach each other something, you know, about their own lives or, a skill that they know and have them enjoy watching the other learn it.
I
Yeah.
like it when there's one of them that's really good at something and everybody's like, oh, they're awesome, they're awesome, and it leaves the other love interest feeling like I'm inadequate somehow. But then it turns out that they can do something that the one who's supposed to be so awesome can't do, and it kind of equals that balance and makes
Yeah,
them both be amazing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, there are types of relationships to consider when writing a novel. There's the established couple.
Right.
And I know that sounds boring, but think about Jamie and Cersei in Game of Thrones.
That is so true. That's a really good example.
Yeah, they're not
Wow.
boring
Yeah.
at all. Yeah, and they're established. They've had babies together, for God's sakes.
To be fair, they're also incestuous, so that already makes it like, oh, geez, like, oh my God, like, okay. So like, it already makes it interesting because you're like, really, really?
Yeah. But, so that's a type of relationship. You don't have to have a relationship start from brand new, we're meeting for the first time.
Right.
You can rekindle an old flame,
Yeah. Yeah.
which can be really good because what drove them apart to begin with? What is making them reconnect now? And it lends fears on both of those characters going, oh my God, she did this to me last time. Can I trust her? Is it going to work this time? Both of them are going to
Right.
be afraid of that. So that's another great relationship that you can do other than the just we met now and are building this relationship.
Right.
A person who has multiple partners,
Yeah.
and in my new book, Harper, um, Finley is her best friend. And I think I don't know if I did this on tape or if we talked about it after, but he is gay and has multiple partners.
Like
And
polyamorous or just like multiple partners in general?
I think he's bisexual.
Hmm.
I think he just likes love.
Well, so by polyamorous, I just mean like, is he like actually in a committed relationship with multiple people, or
No,
is he just okay? Yeah,
no, he likes to have sex with a lot of people, and
fair. Yeah,
he doesn't discriminate.
yeah,
And which can lead to funny things, which is a side plot to my book, and it helps. There's a reason um, to have that character and do those things. There's rocks involved. There's um, the whole making the book deeper type thing also. Um, but do avoid stereotypes when you do that, which is what I was talking about last time. And I don't, again, know if this was on tape or not, where I
I
was
don't think it
worried.
was. Yeah, I don't think it was on tape.
Or I was worried about him being a gay with multiple partners. And as I told you, I guess off tape, was I can't help what these characters are doing in my head
Right.
and what he is wanting to be. And I just don't want to be offensive because I am not part of that community and you are. And so I was asking to make sure I wasn't going to step on toes. It's very difficult, but
Yeah, it's funny. I'm very comfortable writing LGBT. Well, I guess I mostly write lesbians, bisexuals, but that it's very like I don't feel uncomfortable writing any of those types of characters just because I don't know. I am part of that community. I am very involved in it. But
I
yeah, no,
just
I
don't
think
want to do it wrong. I mean, Finley is what Finley is. I mean, I
right,
can't stop him from telling me what he is going to do, and he is going to do what he's going to do.
right.
But I don't want a reader to read that and go, "Oh my God, she meant this way, and she's being offensive," because that is not at all. Finley is Finley.
Hmm.
I can't help what he does.
Yeah,
But so yeah, avoid the stereotypes. Don't have the unrealistic relationships like you said before.
hmm.
Think hard on what the purpose is of having this romance or relationship in your book.
That's
Is it
actually a really good point. I didn't even think about that. I feel like I talk a lot about, make sure you have a purpose for something.
mhm,
But I didn't even think about it for this. That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought it up.
mhm. I mean, if it's just because, oh, I should have romance, that's not a good reason. Is it going to move the plot forward? Is it going to create tension? Is it going to help with rocks? Is it going to help with the conflict? So think about the purpose and don't just think, oh, I'm supposed to have romance. You don't have to have romance.
Right.
There
Yeah.
honestly doesn't have to be any kind of relationship. Think of, the action adventure stories. They happen so fast, there's no time for romance sometimes.
Or horror stories. Like, again,
Or
same
horror
same
stories.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I've got. We could probably do more episodes on
I think so.
this relationship thing. I mean, we could go into individual relationships and types of relationships and that kind of thing.
Right.
But that's all I've got right now. And we've probably talked a long time because I was going to say we both went off topic, but I really think it was just me.
I don't remember, which I've finished
See,
my drink.
it was
so-
her. We're just going to say it was both of us.
Wow. Our readers are our listeners are potentially sober, so they might know if you're lying.
Hopefully not. They should be drinking too, unless they're driving. Don't drink and drive.
Right. Yes, that. So I have a quick interview question, and we can make it quick since we've been talking a lot.
Okay.
What book couple of yours is your favorite?
Oh, I have lots of, I have couples in all of them, honestly.
I know, but which one is your favorite?
I have two.
Okay. Well, that's cheating, but that's fine.
Well, I wrote a romance. Chitara is an actual romance book. And
Yeah.
so their relationship I love because it is that hate to love thing.
Mhm.
And he ends up owning her, which is that whole asshole thing. And that
Wow.
it's a thing. It's a romance thing. It's
Mhm.
part of that romance trope. And so I do love that relationship because it travels along the normal romance trope and I love the romance. But if I had to say in my urban fantasy books, it would probably be Caden and Taryn,
Yeah.
the one I
Tarzan.
was talking about. Yeah, Tarzan. She has a problem with names, guys. So
She does. Yes.
she can't remember his name. And that's another thing that pisses him off and makes him defensive because think about it. You think this girl's hot and she calls you by the wrong name all the time. So they have their issues, but they are so funny. And I do enjoy watching their relationship and that sexual tension. And I do actually have sex scenes in this book where they actually have the penis thing that comes into play. And it was very hard to write because, how much is too much and how much is too little and how do you do it? And, Patricia Briggs doesn't ever do it. And, but we all still know. So how do you do that? But I think their whole going from this, I hate you to I would die for you is a wonderful, incredible journey. So they are probably my favorite urban fantasy romance
fun.
couple. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine would probably have to be Aiden and Gabriella. I've written them the longest, even though you've never read them together.
No, but didn't I, in one of our episodes, didn't I predict when you were saying, I knew that those two would end up together. I could see it even in your very first draft.
Yeah, which in the first draft, she was not going to end up with Gabriella at all. And then,
but even then I could see it.
Yeah, they're very, they're complicated, which is very fun to write. They struggle with each other because they're very much independent and they both know what they want and they both know what's right. And neither one of them is wrong about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to work together on certain things. It's a fun relationship to build.
See, and even as a straight person, that tension makes you feel something.
Oh, well, I ship hetero characters all the time.
Yeah.
I'm very gay and I ship hetero all the time.
Yeah.
But
And so I think that's a wonderful thing.
yeah, absolutely. And then I do love Louis and Delaney because they are going to be very fun to write in terms of their developing romance. So
I love that.
Oh, and then I have a sentence challenge. Challenge.
Good.
So if you want to do the sentence challenge, then write a page about it. It's a piece of dialogue, and that is, well, that ship has sunk.
I love it.
So.
Jen, get on it. We haven't had some from you in a little bit.
Wow, call out Jen. She gives us some. Do
And
not
they're
call her
good.
out. She's great.
They are really good. I can't wait to read them. So
Yeah, no,
you
they're
all,
fabulous.
I mean, I can't wait. We have already read them, but I can't wait
Right.
to read them out loud for other listeners.
Yes,
You are definitely a writer. So I write us some more.
absolutely. All
Um,
right.
that is all we've got. Come visit our website at eatdrinkwritepodcast.com. You can find our email there, our social media there. We have Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and what am I?
Twitter.
Twitter. Twitter is actually the main one. Y'all check out the Twitter writer community. It is wonderful. Um, it's all I can think of right now. I'll try to post pictures of our food, tell us jokes because clearly need those. Uh,
Clearly, since they haven't sent you any, then they like your jokes.
I, I think they're just like, oh my God, she's telling jokes again.
Well, you do it every episode, so if they're still here.
Maybe they fast forward through it. I don't know. Anyway, we thank you all for listening. We do have a Patreon where you can support us. We would greatly appreciate it. Jen is our only patron right now. And it is patreon.com/EDW.
Yeah.
We love doing this, but it does take money out of our own pockets to do it. We will see you next week. I don't know what our topic's going to be. And at some point we are going to do that mini topic where we read Jen's so far sentence pages.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right.
See you next time.
Thanks, guys.